Have you guys ever heard about the conflict between India and Pakistan? And do you know where this conflict is actually takes place?
Hey guys, I heard you guys are curious about the conflict about India and Pakistan in South Asia.
Yes.
So about that, how about we come along and explain?
Halo guys.
Hello guys! We are from
Group 1.
So my name is Rainer.
My name is Grace Marisa Momora. My name is Cheriako Plavanila.
My name is Shishu.
And my name is Rama Bajapranaya.
And today we will present about the conflict between India and Pakistan.
Let's go!
So this conflict occurs in South Asia, one of the most important regions in international politics. South Asia consists of several countries, including India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, and Maldives. This region is home to almost 2 billion people, making it one of the most populated regions in the world. In international relations, this area is called a region because the countries in South Asia are geographically close and share interconnected historical, political, and security dynamics. Because of these interconnections, political developments or conflicts in one country can often affect the stability of other countries in the same region. However, in this discussion, we will mainly focus on the two key countries. They are India and also Pakistan, because the relationship between these two countries has long been one of the most important security issues in South Asia. Geographically, India and Pakistan are neighboring countries that share a long land border. This border stretches from the Arabian Sea in the south to the mountainous region of Kashmir in the north. When people talk about the conflict between India and Pakistan, one place always comes up, which is Kashmir. But why is Kashmir important to this conflict? To understand this issue, we need to briefly look back at history, particularly the partition of India in 1947. At that time, British India was divided into two independent countries. They are India and Pakistan. The division were largely based on religious differences, where India became a country with Hindu majority, while Pakistan was established as a Muslim majority state. However, this division didn't occur smoothly. One of the biggest problems emerged in the region of Kashmir, which had a Muslim majority population but was ruled by a Hindu leader. The ruler eventually decided to join India, which triggered the first war between the two countries, known as the Indo-Pakistani War of 1947 to 1948. Since then, tension between India and Pakistan have continued in different forms. The two countries have fought several conflicts, including the Indo-Pakistani War of 1965 and the Kargil War. Even when there is no large-scale war, military tensions along the border still occur frequently. Another reason why these conflicts attract global attention is because both India and Pakistan possess nuclear weapons. This makes an escalation between the two countries potentially dangerous not only for South Asia but also for international security. In addition, this region is geographically strategic because it is located near major countries such as China and Afghanistan, which further adds complexity to the political and security dynamics of the region. However, after understanding the geographical background and historical context of this region, an important question remains: what are the main security issues that continue to influence the relationship between India and Pakistan today? To answer this question, the next part of this presentation will explain the main security concern in this region and why the India-Pakistan conflict remains one of the most significant security issues in the world.
To understand the main security concern between India and Pakistan today, we need to look at the core issue that continues to shape the relationship, the unresolved dispute over Kashmir, and the broader strategic rivalry between the two countries. As I explained earlier, the roots of this conflict goes back to the partition of British India in 1947. Although the first war between India and Pakistan ended with the ceasefire, the dispute over Kashmir was never fully resolved. Instead, the region was divided along what is now known as the Line of Control, which separates the area administered by India and Pakistan. However, both countries still claim the entire territory of Kashmir as part of their sovereign states. Because of this, Kashmir remains one of the most politically sensitive and militarized areas in the world. Military forces from both sides are heavily deployed along the border, and tensions often escalate through ceasefire violations, military standoffs, and occasional armed clashes. These repeated confrontations demonstrates that the conflict between India and Pakistan is not only a historical issue, but also an ongoing security concern that continues to influence regional stability in South Asia. Another factor that makes this conflict particularly dangerous is the presence of nuclear weapons. Both India and Pakistan developed nuclear capabilities in the late 20th century, which significantly increased the strategic of risk on their rivalry. Because both states possess nuclear weapons, any escalation between them could potentially have devastating consequences, not only for the region, but also for global security. While at the same time, the conflict is further complicated by the issues such as cross-border militancy, terrorism, and deep political mistrust between the two governments. India has frequently accused Pakistan for supporting militant groups operating in Kashmir, while Pakistan denies these accusations and groups criticize India's policies in the region. Disagreements often trigger diplomatic tensions, make peaceful negotiations more difficult to achieve. And from an international relation own perspective, the India-Pakistan rivalry can also be explained through the concept of security dilemma. This concept describes a situation where actions taken by one state to increase its security, such as strengthening military forces or developing nuclear weapons, are perceived as threats by another states. As a result, the other states respond by increasing its own military capabilities, which creates a cycle of tension and competition. In the case of India and Pakistan, both countries continue to invest heavily in military capabilities in order to protect their national security. But however, this action often increases suspicion and insecurity on the other side, which further intensifies the rivalry between them. So, for these reasons, India and Pakistan conflict remains a central security concern in the Southeast Asia. The combination of unresolved territorial disputes, nuclear weapons, and long-standing political tension makes this conflict one of the most important and closely monitored security issues in international politics today.
After understanding the main security conflict in South Asia, the conflict between India and Pakistan over Kashmir, the next question is who the key actors shaping regional security area. The main actors are India and Pakistan. Both countries have a strong military capability and nuclear weapons, making them the most influential player in the region. Their political and military issues directly affect regional stability. Due to the long-standing Kashmir disputes, both countries of the increased military operations along the border. In international relations, this situation is known as a security dilemma, where one country efforts to increase security are seen as a threat by the other. However, some Asia security is also influenced by external actors. The United States has developed a strong strategy partnership with India towards defense agreements, military exercises, and border cooperation in the Indo-Pacific. Meanwhile, China maintains a close strategic relationship with Pakistan. It includes major investment through the China-Pakistan economic corridor and defense cooperation. This relation reflects alliance politics and the balance of power in the region. After identifying main actors, the next question is who these actors manage security and what security arrangements exist in South Asia today.
One of the key security arrangements between India and Pakistan is the 23rd India-Pakistan ceasefire agreement, which applies along the line of control, the dividing line between the Indian and Pakistani controlled parts of Kashmir. The main purpose of this agreement is to stop the cross-border firing, reduce military activities along the border, and protect civilians living in the Kashmir region. Through this mechanism, both countries attempt to control the intensity of the conflict and prevent further escalation in the border area. Another important development occurred in February 2021 when the Indian and Pakistani militaries reaffirmed their commitment to the existing ceasefire. This reaffirmation was achieved through communication between the military leadership of both countries. The agreement emphasized stopping ceasefire violations, using a military hotline to maintain communication, and resolving border incidents through military meetings. These steps was intended to de-escalate tensions that had increased along the Kashmir border. In addition to the ceasefire agreements, nuclear deterrence also plays a significant role in shaping security dynamics between two countries. Both India and Pakistan possesses nuclear weapons after conducting nuclear tests in 1998. India through the Pokhran nuclear test and Pakistan through the Shanghai nuclear test. Under the concept of nuclear deterrence, both states tend to avoid large-scale war because of a major conflict could escalate into a highly destructive nuclear conflict. Furthermore, India and Pakistan have also implemented several confidence-building measures, or CBMS, to reduce tensions and prevent misunderstandings. One important example is the Indus Water Treaty, which regulates the sharing of river water between the two countries. Other measures include maintaining military communication hotlines and providing prior notification before conducting missile tests. These mechanisms also aim to increase transparency and reduce the risk of accidental escalation. Lastly, the United Nations has also attempted to play a role in managing the conflict. One significant effort was through United Nations Security Conflict Resolution 47, which called for a ceasefire, the withdrawal of troops from Kashmir, and proposed referendum to follow the people of Kashmir to determine the future of the region. In addition, the UN established the United Nations Military Observer Group in India and Pakistan to monitor ceasefire violations in the region. However, the implementation of these measures has not been fully successful due to the political disagreement between India and Pakistan. After discussing the security agreements between India and Pakistan, we can now look at the outcomes of these agreements, the reduction in border control. Data shows that ceasefire agreements can significantly reduce armed conflict along the border. For example, in 2002, there were approximately 103,076 cross-border firing incidents between India and Pakistan. However, after the implementation of the 2003 ceasefire agreement, there were almost no violations recorded between 2004 and 2006. This indicates that the agreement significantly reduced the intensity of the conflict along the line of control. The effectiveness of the 2021 reaffirmation ceasefire. Before this agreement, tensions were relatively high. In 2020 alone, there were more than 5,000 ceasefire violations reported along the border. However, after the reaffirmation on the February 2021, the number of violations dropped drastically, with only a few incidents reported in the following months. This demonstrates that military communication and commitment to the ceasefire can significantly reduce the conflict escalation. Preventing major war. The existence of nuclear weapons creates a deterrent effect between the two countries because both India and Pakistan possess a nuclear weapons. A large-scale war could escalate into a highly destructive nuclear conflict. As a result, confrontations between the two countries tend to remain limited to smaller border skirmishes rather than developing into full-scale war. In fact, since the Kargil War in 1999, there has been no major war between them. Relative stability in Southeast Asia. These security arrangements also contribute to maintaining stability in the South Asian regions. Also, the Kashmir conflict remains unresolved. Mechanisms such as ceasefire agreements, nuclear deterrence, and confidence-building measures help manage tensions and prevent the conflict from escalation into a larger regional war. These outcomes shows that security arrangements have helped manage tensions between India and Pakistan and prevent the further escalation.
The main countries involved are India and Pakistan because they are two countries directly in conflicts, especially over Kashmir. Other South Asian countries are also part of the regional system. These include Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan, Maldives, and Afghanistan. These countries are involved because they are part of the South Asian regional system and want stability in the region. However, some major outside powers are also involved in the security balance. For example, China strongly opposed Pakistan, while the United States, Japan, and Australia cooperate more closely with India. But some countries are left out of these security arrangements. For example, Iran and Myanmar are not directly involved. This is mainly because they belong to different regional systems and prefer not to take side in the Indian-Pakistan conflicts. So, overall, the security arrangements mainly involve South Asian countries and several global powers, while other neighboring countries remain outside the framework. So we can see that several countries are involved in the regional security environment, include India, Pakistan, and major powers like China and the United States. However, an important question remains: if these arrangements exist, why do tensions still continue? To understand this, we need to look at the main challenges, such as the disputes over Kashmir and the lack of trust between the two countries.
When we talk about regionalism and international security in South Asia, one of the biggest challenges is ongoing rivalry between India and Pakistan, especially over the Kashmir region. This conflict has lasted for more than 70 years and still continue shape of security dynamic of the entire region. The first major challenge is the territorial dispute over Kashmir. Both India and Pakistan claim the region as part of their sovereign territory. Because of the disagreement, the two countries have won several wars and continue to maintain a heavy military presence along the line of control. This constant tension make it very difficult to achieve long-term peace and cooperation in the region. The second challenge is the security dilemma between two of the states. In international relation theory, a security dilemma occurs when the one country increases its military capabilities to protect itself, but in this action perceived as a threat by another country. As a result, the country also increases its military power, creating a cycle of mutual suspicion. The third challenge is the presence of nuclear weapons. Both India and Pakistan possess nuclear capabilities, which makes their rivalry particularly dangerous. While nuclear deterrence can prevent full-scale war, it also means that any escalation in conflict could have very serious consequences not only for South Asia, but also for international security. Another challenge is the weakness of regional cooperation in South Asia. The region has a regional organization called the South Asia Association for Regional Cooperation, or SAARC. However, political tension, especially between India and Pakistan, have often prevented the organization from functioning effectively.
So, to conclude our discussion today, the security dynamics in South Asia are strongly shaped by the long-standing rivalry between India and Pakistan, especially over the Kashmir region. The conflict has existed since the partition of British India in 1947 and continues to influence political and military tension in the region today. From international relations perspective, the situation can be explained by realism theory, especially the concept of the security dilemma, where actions taken by one country to increase its security are often perceived as a threat by another country, which then leads to further military competition. At the same time, the presence of nuclear weapons creates a situation of nuclear deterrence, which discourages both countries from engaging in a large-scale war because the consequence could be extremely destructive. Even though agreements such as the ceasefire and other confidence-building measures have helped reduce violence along the border, the core issue of Kashmir and the lack of trust between the two countries still remain unresolved. Therefore, several steps are important for improving regional stability in South Asia. India and Pakistan need to continue to strengthen diplomatic dialogue and maintaining communication in order to prevent misunderstandings and reduce tensions along the border. In addition, regional cooperation should be strengthened through organizations such as the South Asia Association for Regional Cooperation so that countries in South Asia can work together to promote stability and cooperation in this region. Finally, The international community can also play a constructive role by encouraging peaceful negotiations and supporting diplomatic efforts. Through stronger cooperation, dialogue, and trust-building measures, there is a greater possibility for South Asia to move toward a more stable and secure regional environment in the future. That's all. Thank you.